Hello guys, I know it's been a while since I made a video like this in a while. I know I posted a few like sports clips and stuff like that or whatever, but a video that I'm talking about whatever I'm talking about, sports facts, sports history, whatever. Mostly football history, but I'll probably get into more sports facts later on or whatever. But the one sports fact I did want to talk about today was I believe, again, don't 100% quote me because again I'm going off the internet. I'm going off stuff I'm looking up. So this is not 100% true fact. Let me repeat that, not 100% true fact, but I'm going off of facts I believe is true, however you believe it or whatever. The fact I want to talk about is the first NFL long snapper to be drafted into the NFL. I know how I worded it. I don't care. That's your problem if you don't like it. Anyways, so the first guy to be drafted into the NFL as a long snapper is a guy named Patrick Medley. I could have messed that up. I'm not 100% sure. I'm sorry, Patrick. Anyways, this guy who played in the NFL for 16 years, his whole career, which for that long, especially for a long snapper, is fantastic. Because a lot of them don't really have that long of a career, and a lot of them jump around from team to team. They never know. They're just like kickers and punters. They never know where their next spot's going to be unless the team wants to keep them. This guy must have been really successful at his job for doing it for 16 years. Stayed with one organization, which is nowadays very, very hard to even think about. And for him doing it for 16 years, started in the late 1990s, is very successful. When stuff was slowly transitioning from how you can tackle back when tackling was back in the late 90s, all the way up to when he stopped in I want to say 2014, which is a huge gap for tackling, especially from 1989 all the way to 2014, because a lot of stuff changed and a lot of rules had to, be figured out and all stuff like that for player safety and to have a bunch of stuff that would have been different if he would have been drafted and nowadays than he was drafted when he got drafted. So as I was saying, this guy Patrick, he had a very successful career at Duke, and if you know anything about sports history and Duke history, they're not known for football. We could probably name just at least I can name only two players I could think of that went to Duke and played in the NFL. To the top of my head. The only names I can think of off this hand because I looked up the history is a guy named Patrick Manley, who I'm currently talking about, and Daniel Jones. I don't know many Duke players who played in the NFL. I'm not saying they weren't successful or they couldn't play. I'm just saying off the top of my head, I don't know many. Because Duke football is not known for making pro players. Now Duke basketball, they were known for making pro basketball players even before Coach K and all the stuff like that. So it just shows you how much once successful as a team or university, sorry, I don't know how I want to say that, as a university, to show that one sports can help many different sports, because that basketball team drew more players in and helped get that money. For basketball, I want to say about 95% went to basketball. The rest went to the other sports. Let's not lie. That's how universities are. I don't care. Not my problem at this moment. So anyways, sorry I went on a rampage there. Going back to this guy who had a very successful career as a long snapper, being drafted. It's very interesting to think about that, because if you think about long snappers, when they get drafted in the NFL, they had a very specific position: linebacker, tight end, offensive line, maybe defensive line, something that isn't their normal. This is their normal position, but they just happen to be really good at long snapping, which is a very artsy thing to do, just like kicking, punting, throwing the ball, running the ball. whatever it is. It's always an art of some type of doing. This guy just happened to be drafted into the NFL as a long snapper, even though he did play offensive line too, but it just happened to be he was drafted into the NFL as a long snapper, not as an offensive lineman, tackle, guard, center, whatever it was. It was he was drafted into the NFL as a long snapper. And if you guys don't know what long snappers are, I'm gonna try to give a little detail as much as I know and what I did, because I did play a little football, not a lot. It just shows you where I am today. The long snapper is a special teams guy who is like a center. The only difference is when he snaps the ball, he doesn't have a guy under his butt, but he's got a guy who's 15 yards behind, 10, 15 yards behind him, just basically throwing the ball as hard as he can to get to that punter, kicker, holder, whatever, before some guy runs him over and, tries to block a kick or whatever. This position has started when the NFL first started, but they weren't called long snappers. They were just offensive linemen. They were tight ends. They were someone who did that position. It was just later on, probably, I want to say 70s or 80s. I could be wrong too. It kind of became its own thing because, again, just like every other position, tight end, quarterback, it was a specific thing you had to do. You had to learn to study it and make sure you were, bam, really good at, to make your punter, holder, or whatever look good for that, for that split second to make go, this guy needs to hike me the ball. No ifs, ands, or buts. But if this guy does it, it's not going to work out. I need to be hit right in the chest, right in the stomach area to get that ball off in less than 4 seconds before it gets blocked. So having the long career that he did, again, especially, that he did, because the long snapper, as soon as he snaps it, he becomes a defensive player like that. He's an offensive player when he gets on the field, but as soon as he snaps the ball like that, he's a defensive player. He's got to go get that returner, go get whoever's got the ball at the time, and make sure he gets it down, or there's a tiny, tiny chance that, that returner or whoever has the ball drops it touches the ball and gets the ball. But it's very rarely for those guys to do it, because they have to get through they have to get through two guys just to even get downfield, and on top of that they're running around the field basically just trying to find a good angle to stop the one returner before he takes it to the house, because if he takes it to the house, he already lost his opportunity to stop that team from scoring at all. So anyways, for him to play 16 years with the Chicago Bears just shows that he was willing to do whatever he did to make the NFL roster, and to show that every position, doesn't matter who you are, you're a gunner, a guy who's running down the field just to get the returner, or you're the guy kicking the ball, or you're one of the guys who's supposed to protect the punter, the holder, whoever, before the ball is kicked, just so something happens or whatever. So it just shows you that the Bears saw something into this in this guy that make me think, you know what, we need this guy to snap to our punter, our holder, or whoever he's going to snap it to, for as long as he did. So anyways, he retired in 2014. Like I said, very long career, especially starting in the late 1990s. I almost about to say late 1900s. 1990s, dude, I'm not that old. Sorry. For him to go from that all the way to 2014, like I said, a very long career, which just shows you that he was always doing the best he did. He was consistent, and he always knew where to put the ball for whoever was punting for that team at the time, because like I said, just like long snappers, kickers, and punters, you never know who's going to be there next year, or who's going to have an off year, because no one's going to have a perfect year in, year out. Doesn't matter what position you play. So once he retired in 2014, 5 years later, I'm going to say that very specifically because Like I said, this guy had a very successful college career. He played he started all 4 years as an offensive line long snapper for 4 years, which means from his freshman year I want to say either freshman or redshirt freshman year all the way to his senior year, like the 4 year span, he was a starter from the beginning. So it just showed you how much this guy really was good at his job. So in 2019, I want to be very specific on what this is. The FBS level, the very highest level that everyone watches, like Ohio State, Michigan, Duke, Maryland, Washington, New Mexico State, all those teams that are FBS level, all those teams like that in that level, they made an award for just long snappers, and they also made an award for holders, like who hold the ball. That's a whole other video. I'll talk about that another time. But anyways, the award is named after this guy who was drafted back in 1998, who made, again, a very successful career to get this reward becoming a thing because, like I said, just like every other position, kickers, punters, quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen, guards, centers, and tackles, defensive, all those guys have a thing that just makes them the best. Like the Lombardi Award, the Johnny Unitas Award, all those guys. There's a reason why they got these awards, because they're the best at their position. This guy, like I said, made a very successful 4-year career at Duke. Again, not known for football, got an award named after him to get every single long snapper who deserves this reward. Which, again, a lot of them do, because again, doing that position is not the easiest. Because if you think that position is easy, no, it's not. It's just like every offensive lineman, because you have guys running into you before you even can jump up sometimes and try to hit them and push them back. I did play a little offensive line. As you can see, I'm a big guy. Yeah. Sorry. It's shown that he wanted to show that all these guys who are snapping the ball to the punter, to the holder, to whoever that he's snapping the ball to, show that this guy is always going to hit this person in the hands, in the chest, in the whatever that position that guy wants to put it in. So it just shows that he wanted to give all these guys, and unfortunately this award only started back in 2019, so it's just still recently new. But this award should have gone back to, like I said, the 70s and 80s for at least college players. More 90s, because special teams became more of its own thing, more like 80s, 90s, sort of its own thing, but that's a whole other story. But you want these guys, but he wanted to show that every single position, just like that gunner who's, supposed to run down the field as soon as the ball snaps, or that one offensive lineman who deserves every credit, just like the quarterback deserves that this guy who's snapping the ball, just like a center is, deserves an award because he's the best at his position, and he's been doing it for me personally, I would say 2 to 4 years, 5 years. However the guy plays along in college, I'm not 100% sure how it is nowadays. It's way different than it was back in the 90s and 80s. So it was only 4 years, but we're not going to go there. So having this award probably shows that he's willing to show that every single position is important. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, your position is super important. That's the reason I want to talk about special teams, is because, don't get me wrong, they have their good moments just like a quarterback, they have their bad moments just like a wide receiver. And again, every single position is important, and it shows you that we need very specific guys to do their job in a very specific way. So having this guy show that these college players who won the award from 2019 all the way to now, which I want to say is about 5-6 years, I could be wrong, don't 100% quote me. It just shows that this guy wants to do whatever he can to make sure that these guys get recognition the way that he did, or the way he wanted to show, like he had a very successful career, like I said, at Duke, and then going to drafted by the Chicago Bears. So that like the Luke Garrett Award that's been going on for years, the best kicker. Who do you think got that ball to the holder and got that kicker to make sure it was that long snapper? Like I said, that long snapper is the most important guy, just like a center is, to get that ball to the guy who's getting the ball, the punter, the holder, whoever's getting that ball at the time. So yeah, I just want to talk about how that position, just like every other position on special teams, is very underlooked, but at the same time, it's overlooked. Because unless that guy messes up, just like a kicker, punter, whoever misses a tackle, whatever, they're only going to show those parts. They're never going to show the successful snap, because they're like, oh, the punter, the gunner, the whoever did a fantastic job. But who do you think got the ball? The long snapper. Thank you guys. I just want to end this, wrap this video up. I know that like, it's kind of sudden, just like hit the brakes, kind of stop. But it's just one of those things where I want to get back to talk about this because I love it, and it's one of the things that I believe that should be talked about, just like every other position, like the offensive line, like the defensive line, like whoever. It really is a team sport from the very, very top for ownership, from the very top, the university, the top guy, all the way to the guy who gets the water. And I don't care who you are, the water boy, the towel guy, the whoever. That everything has to go together to be a very successful organization, very successful university, very successful football program. So guys, thank you for listening. Let me rant about stuff I love, especially stuff like this that like I said, even I'm learning as I'm going through the years of my life. And you guys also see the lovely shirts of the USFL when it was, now it is the XFL. Yeah, sorry. Dazed. So yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for listening, and again, I want to try to make more videos like this and just get more stuff out like this. Thank you.